Hey there, welcome back, or welcome if you're new. So today is January 31st, and we're going to be starting Exodus today. So before we start, I just wanted to read you the little blurb in my Bible in the beginning of Exodus that kind of explains the book and tells what it's about. Those just seem to help me get a better overview of what to really focus on as I read through the book that I'm reading, which for this is Exodus. So I am reading from the Holman Christian Standard Bible, and this is the Apologetics Study Bible for students. So if you want to know which one I'm reading from, that's what this is. But this is just what the people who put this translation together and put this Bible together wrote at the beginning of the book of Exodus. So this is not part of the Bible, it's just a little bit of an explanation as to the book of Exodus. So this is what it says. Do you ever feel forgotten or left out, like no one knows or cares about you? Have you wondered if God cares? All of us have felt this way at certain times in our lives. In the book of Exodus, the Hebrew people, during the time of Pharaoh, were cruelly oppressed for hundreds of years as slaves. They were constantly under the watchful eye of an oppressor who cared little for them or their plight. It seemed as if God had forgotten them, that they had been abandoned. But as the book of Exodus teaches us, God had not forgotten his people. In fact, he was preparing someone who would lead them out of bondage and to a land of promise. In a move characteristic of God, he chose Moses, a man with a troubled past and with little leadership skills, to deliver the Israelites to freedom. God sent 10 plagues upon Egypt in order to convince Pharaoh to free the Hebrews. In plague after plague, from locust to frogs to hail, Pharaoh's heart was hardened and he refused to let God's people go. But through God's patience and his unwillingness to let his people suffer any longer, he continued to afflict Pharaoh and the Egyptians until finally Pharaoh relented and God's people escaped bondage. But the Hebrews' escape from Pharaoh through God's parting of the Red Sea did not end their ordeal. Even though God had kept his promise to deliver his people from slavery, they were quick to lose sight of all that God had done for them. While they were not yet in the promised land, they still needed to trust God that he would fulfill his promise to them. God had demonstrated his faithfulness in delivering them from slavery, but their grumbling and dissatisfaction they wondered why Moses had led them out of Egypt, only to die in the desert, frustrated Moses. But even while the people were faithless, Moses continued to have faith in God. Soon after their escape from Egypt, Moses went up to Mount Sinai and received a message from God. Now, if you will listen to me and carefully keep my covenant, you will be my own possession out of all the peoples, although all the earth is mine. God's passion and unending devotion to the Hebrew people is evident throughout the book of Exodus. Not too many days after Moses' trip to Mount Sinai, he again ascended to meet with God and received the 10 Commandments, perhaps what most people associate with the book of Exodus. The remainder of Exodus includes instructions on building the tabernacle and various regulations for living as God's people. The story of God's people in Exodus is a wonderful example of his unending love and insatiable desire to have a relationship with you. Even during those times when you feel lost and abandoned, you can look to the book of Exodus and realize that God is there, loving you, pursuing you, and protecting you. So, here we go with Exodus chapter 1, and we're going to be reading through verse 6 today. So, these are the names of the sons of Israel who came to Egypt with Jacob. Each came with his family: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. The total number of Jacob's descendants was 70. Joseph was already in Egypt. Then Joseph and all his brothers and all that generation died. But the Israelites were fruitful, increased rapidly, multiplied, and became extremely numerous, so that the land was filled with them. A new king who had not known Joseph came to power in Egypt. So, I was wondering earlier if the Pharaoh from Genesis and the Pharaoh from Exodus were like the same, but the fact that this says a new king who had not known Joseph came to power in Egypt. So that makes me think there's a new Pharaoh. So we'll see as we read along. He said to the people, "Look, the Israelite people are more numerous and powerful than we are. Let us deal shrewdly with them. Otherwise they will multiply further, and if war breaks out, they may join our enemies, fight against us, and leave the country." So the Egyptians assigned taskmakers over the Israelites and oppressed them with forced labor. They built Pithom and Ramesses as supply cities for Pharaoh. But the more they oppressed them, the more they multiplied and spread, so the Egyptians came to dread the Israelites. They worked the Israelites ruthlessly and made their lives bitter with difficult labor in brick and mortar and in all kinds of field work. They ruthlessly imposed all this work on them. Then the king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was named Shiphrah and the other Puah, "When you help the Hebrew women give birth, observe them as they deliver. If the child is a son, kill him, but if it is a daughter, she may live." The Hebrew midwives, however, feared God and did not do as the king of Egypt had told them. They let the boys live. So the king of Egypt summoned the midwives and asked them, "Why have you done this and let the boys live?" The midwives said to Pharaoh, "The Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, for they are vigorous and give birth before a midwife can get to them." So God was with the midwives and the people multiplied and became very numerous. Since the midwives feared God, he gave them families. Pharaoh then commanded all his people, "You must throw every son born to the Hebrews into the Nile, and let every daughter live." Chapter 2. Now a man from the family of Levi married a Levite woman. The woman became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was beautiful, she hid him for 3 months. I'm not sure why I can't read today. But she hid him for 3 months. But when she could no longer hide him, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with asphalt and pitch. She placed the child in it and set it among the reeds by the bank of the Nile. Then his sister stood at a distance in order to see what would happen to him. Pharaoh's daughter went down to bathe in the Nile while her servant girls walked along the river bank. Seeing the basket among the reeds, she sent her slave girl to get it. When she opened it, she saw a child, a little boy, crying. She felt sorry for him and said, "This is one of the Hebrew boys." Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Should I go and call a woman from the Hebrews to nurse the boy for you?" "Go," Pharaoh's daughter told her. So the girl went and called the boy's mother. Then Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child and nurse him for me, and I will pay your wages." So the woman took the boy and nursed him. When the child grew older, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, because, she said, "I drew him out of the water." Years later, after Moses had grown up, he went out to his own people and observed their forced labor. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his people. Looking all around and seeing no one, he struck the Egyptian dead and hid him in the sand. The next day he went out and saw 2 Hebrews fighting. He asked the one in the wrong, "Why are you attacking your neighbor?" "Who made you a leader and judge over us?" the man replied. "Are you planning to kill me as you killed the Egyptian?" Then Moses became afraid and thought, "What I did is certainly known." When Pharaoh heard about this, he tried to kill Moses. But Moses fled from Pharaoh and went to live in the land of Midian and sat down by a well. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters. They came to draw water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. Then some shepherds arrived and drove them away, but Moses came to their rescue and watered their flock. When they returned to their father Reuel, he asked, "Why have you come back so quickly today?" They answered, "An Egyptian rescued us from the shepherds. He even drew water for us and watered the flock." "So where is he?" he asked his daughters. "Why then did you leave the man behind? Invite him to eat dinner." Moses agreed to stay with the man, and he gave his daughter Zipporah to Moses in marriage. She gave birth to a son, whom he named Gershom, for he said, I have been a foreigner in a foreign land." After a long time the king of Egypt died. The Israelites groaned because of their difficult labor, and they cried out, and their cry for help ascended to God because of the difficult labor. So God heard their groaning, and he remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God saw the Israelites, and he took notice. Chapter 3. Meanwhile, Moses was shepherding the flock of his father-in-law, Jethro, the priest of Midian. He led the flock to the far side of the wilderness and came to Oreb, the mountain of God. Then the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire within a bush. As Moses looked, he saw that the bush was on fire, but was not consumed. So Moses thought, "I must go over and look at this remarkable sight. Why isn't the bush burning up?" When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called out to him from the bush, "Moses, Moses." "Here I am," he answered. "Do not come closer," he said. "Remove the sandals from your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." Then he continued, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. Then the Lord said, "I have observed the misery of my people in Egypt, and have heard them crying out because of their oppressors, and I know about their sufferings. I have come down to rescue them from the power of the Egyptians, and to bring them from that land to a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the territory of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. The Israelites' cry for help has come to me, and I also have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. Therefore, go. I am sending you to Pharaoh so that you may lead my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt." But Moses asked God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, and that I should bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" He answered, "I will certainly be with you, and this will be the sign to you that I have sent you. When you bring the people out of Egypt, you will all worship God at this mountain." Then Moses asked God, "If I go to the Israelites and say to them, 'The God of your fathers has sent me to you,' and they ask me, 'What is his name?' what should I tell them?" God replied to Moses, "I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you." God also said to Moses, "Say this to the Israelites. Yahweh, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my name forever. This is how I am to be remembered in every generation. Go and assemble the elders of Israel and say to them, Yahweh, the God of your fathers, and the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has appeared to me and said, I have paid close attention to you and to what has been done to you in Egypt. And I have promised you that I will bring you up from the misery of Egypt to the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, a land flowing with milk and honey. They will listen to what you say. Then you, along with the elders of Israel, must go to the king of Egypt and say to him, Yahweh, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. Now please let us go on a 3-day trip into the wilderness, so that we may sacrifice to Yahweh our God. However, I know that the king of Egypt will not allow you to go, unless he is forced by a strong hand. I will stretch out my hand and strike Egypt with all my miracles that I will perform in it. After that he will let you go. And I will give these people such favor in the sight of the Egyptians that when you go, you will not go empty-handed. Each woman will ask her neighbor and any woman staying in her house for silver and gold jewelry and clothing, and you will put them on your sons and daughters, so you will plunder the Egyptians. Chapter 4. Then Moses answered, What if they won't believe me, and will not obey me, but say, The Lord did not appear to you? The Lord asked him, What is that in your hand? A staff, he replied. Then he said, Throw it on the ground. He threw it on the ground, and it became a snake. Moses ran from it, but the Lord told him, Stretch out your hand and grab it by the tail. So he stretched out his hand and caught it, and it became a staff in his hand. This will take place, he continued, so that they will believe that Yahweh, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has appeared to you. In addition, the Lord said to him, Put your hand inside your cloak. So he put his hand inside his cloak, and when he took it out, his hand was diseased, white as snow. Then he said, "Put your hand back inside your cloak." And he put his hand back inside his cloak, and when he took it out, it had again become like the rest of his skin. If they will not believe you and will not respond to the evidence of the first sign, they may believe the evidence of the second sign. And if they don't believe even these two signs or listen to what you say, take some water from the Nile and pour it on the dry ground. The water you take from the Nile will become blood on the ground. But Moses replied to the Lord, "Please, Lord, I have never been eloquent, either in the past or recently, or since you have been speaking to your servant, because I am slow and hesitant in speech." The Lord said to him, "Who made the human mouth? Who makes him mute or deaf, seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will help you and speak. I will help you speak, and I will teach you what to say." Moses said, "Please, Lord, send someone else." Then the Lord's anger burned against Moses, and he said, "Isn't Aaron the Levite your brother? I know that he can speak well, and also he is on his way now to meet you. He will rejoice when he sees you. You will speak with him and tell him what to say. I will help both you and him to speak, and will teach you both what to do. He will speak to the people for you. He will be your spokesman, and you will serve as God to him. And take this staff in your hand that you will perform the signs with." Then Moses went back to his father-in-law Jethro and said to him, "Please let me return to my relatives in Egypt and see if they are still living." Jethro said to Moses, "Go in peace." Now in Midian the Lord told Moses, "Return to Egypt, for all the men who wanted to kill you are dead." So Moses took his wife and sons, put them on a donkey, and returned to the land of Egypt. And Moses took God's staff in his hand. The Lord instructed Moses, "When you go back to Egypt, make sure you do all the wonders before Pharaoh that I have put within your power. But I will harden his heart so that he won't let the people go. Then you will say to Pharaoh, 'This is what Yahweh says, Israel is my firstborn son. I told you, let my son go so that he may worship me, but you refused to let him go. Now I will kill your firstborn son.'" On the trip at an overnight campsite, it happened that the Lord confronted him and sought to put him to death. So Zipporah took a flint, cut off her son's foreskin, and threw it at Moses' feet. Then she said, "You are a bridegroom of blood to me." So he let him alone. At the time she said, "You are a bridegroom of blood," referring to the circumcision. Now the Lord had said to Aaron, "Go and meet Moses in the wilderness." So he went and met him at the mountain of God and kissed him. Moses told Aaron everything the Lord had sent him to say, and about all the signs he had commanded him to do. Then Moses and Aaron went and assembled all the elders of the Israelites. Aaron repeated everything the Lord had said to Moses and performed the signs before the people. The people believed, and when they heard that the Lord had paid attention to them and that he had seen their misery, they bowed down and worshipped. Chapter 5. Later, Moses and Aaron went in and said to Pharaoh, "This is what Yahweh, the God of Israel, says. Let my people go so that they may hold a festival for me in the wilderness." But Pharaoh responded, "Who is Yahweh that I should obey him by letting Israel go? I do not know anything about Yahweh, and besides, I will not let Israel go." Then they answered, "The God of the Hebrews has met with us. Please let us go on a 3-day trip in the wilderness so that we may sacrifice to Yahweh our God. Or else he may strike us with plague or sword." The king of Egypt said to them, "Moses and Aaron, why are you causing the people to neglect their work? Get to your work." Pharaoh also said, "Look, the people of the land are so numerous, and you would stop them from working." That day Pharaoh commanded the overseers of the people, as well as their foremen, "Don't continue to supply the people with straw for making bricks, as before. They must go and gather straw for themselves. But require the same quota of bricks from them as they were making before. Do not reduce it, for they are slackers. That is why they are crying out, 'Let us go and sacrifice to our God.' Impose heavier work on the men. Then they will be occupied with it and not pay attention to deceptive words." So the overseers and foremen of the people went out and said to them, This is what Pharaoh says, I am not going to give you straw. Go get straw yourselves, wherever you can find it, but there will be no reduction at all in your workload." So the people scattered throughout the land of Egypt to gather stubble for straw. The overseers insisted, "Finish your assigned work each day, just as you did when the straw was provided." Then the Israelite foremen from Pharaoh's slave drivers had set over the people, Then the Israelite foremen whom Pharaoh's slave drivers had set over the people were beaten and asked, "Why haven't you finished making your prescribed number of bricks yesterday or today as you did before?" So the Israelite foreman went in and cried for help to Pharaoh. "Why are you treating your servants this way? No straw has been given to your servants. Yet they say to us, 'Make bricks.' Look, your servants are being beaten, but it is your own people who are at fault." But he said, "You are slackers, slackers. That is why you are saying, 'Let us go sacrifice to the Lord.' Now get to work. No straw will be given to you, but you must produce the same quantity of bricks." The Israelite foremen saw that they were in trouble when they were told, "You cannot reduce your daily quota of bricks." When they left Pharaoh, they confronted Moses and Aaron, who stood waiting to meet them. "May the Lord take note of you and judge," they said to them, "because you have made us reek in front of Pharaoh and his officials, putting a sword in their hand to kill us." So Moses went back to the Lord and asked, "Lord, why have you caused trouble for this people? And why did you ever send me? Ever since I went in to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has caused trouble for this people. But you haven't delivered your people at all." Chapter 6. But the Lord replied to Moses, "Now you are going to see what I will do to Pharaoh. He will let them go because of my strong hand. He will drive them out of his land because of my strong hand." Then God spoke to Moses, telling him, "I am Yahweh. I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as God Almighty, but I did not reveal my name Yahweh to them. I also established my covenant with them to give them the land of Canaan, the land they lived in as foreigners. Furthermore, I have heard the groaning of the Israelites, whom the Egyptians are forcing to work as slaves, and I have remembered my covenant. Therefore, tell the Israelites, 'I am Yahweh, and I will deliver you from the forced labor of the Egyptians and free you from slavery to them. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and great acts of judgment. I will take you as my people, and I will be your God. You will know that I am Yahweh your God, who delivered you from the forced labor of the Egyptians. I will bring you to the land that I swore to give Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I will give it to you as a possession. I am Yahweh." Moses told this to the Israelites, but they did not listen to him because of their broken spirit and hard labor. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, "Go and tell Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to let the Israelites go from this land." But Moses said to the Lord's presence, "If the Israelites will not listen to me, then how will Pharaoh listen to me, since I am such a poor speaker?" Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, and he gave them commands concerning both the Israelites and Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to bring the Israelites out of Egypt. These are the heads of their fathers' families. The sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, Hanok and Palu, Hezron and Carmi. These are the clans of Reuben. The sons of Simeon, Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanite woman. These are the clans of Simeon. These are the names of the sons of Levi according to their genealogy. Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Levi lived 137 years. The sons of Gershon, Libni, and Shimi by their clans. The sons of Kohath, Amrah, Izhar, Hebron, and Uzziel. Kohath lived 133 years. The sons of Merari, Mali and Maushi. Mali and Mushi. These are the clans of the Levites according to their genealogy. Amram married his father's sister, Jochebed, and she bore him Abraham and Moses. Amrah lived 137 years. The sons of Izhar, Korah, Nepheg, and Zikri. The sons of Uziel, Mishael, Elzaphan, and Sithri. Aaron married Elishabeth, daughter of Aminadab, and sister of Nahshon. She bore him Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. The sons of Korah, Asir, Elkanah, and Asaph. These are the clans of the Korahites. Aaron's son Eleazar married one of the daughters of Putiel, and she bore him Phinehas. These are the clans of the Levite families by their clans. It was this Aaron and Moses whom the Lord told, "Bring the Israelites out of the land of Egypt, according to their divisions." Moses and Aaron were the ones who spoke to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, in order to bring the Israelites out of Egypt. On the day the Lord spoke to Moses in the land of Egypt, he said to him, "I am Yahweh. Tell Pharaoh, king of Egypt, everything I am telling you." But Moses replied in the Lord's presence, "Since I am such a poor speaker, how will Pharaoh listen to me?" And that is the end of chapter 6 in our reading for today. I know this video has been a little bit long, but we got through 6 chapters and the introduction of this book, so I think that's pretty good. And if you stuck with me through all of those names, you are a trooper, because it was very hard for me. So I'd encourage you to go back through and kind of look at those names on your own. I think those end up being important, and just the genealogy ends up being significant when you look at who God is using and how he's using them. I think that's pretty cool to look at. So you can definitely go back and look at that and decide on the pronunciations for yourself. But that's our reading for today, and I'll see you tomorrow as we continue in Exodus with chapter 7 through 9. See you then. Bye.